What's going on, Guardians? It's Tizzle here, and today I actually have an insane PvP build for you. Pretty surprising that my first build video of the season is for PvP, but trust me, you are going to want to see this. I wasn't even going to make a video on it because honestly, if this catches on in trials, it's going to be super annoying to play against, but I've been having so much fun with it in Iron Banner that I just couldn't help myself, and I think you'll enjoy it too. I also wasn't going to make this video because the weapon I was using with the build wasn't great, so the build wasn't as strong as I thought it would be. That is, until I got my hands on the God Roll Lethal Abundance for this build. So let's dive into it, shall we? It centers around the exotic chest piece Hoarfrost Z on the Titan, which has the exotic perk Glacial Fortification. When using the Stasis subclass, your barricade becomes a wall of stasis crystals that slows nearby targets when created. Standing behind this barricade will grant you and your allies increased weapon reload speed, stability, and range. You can see what the barricade looks like in the background gameplay. It is sort of shaped like a rally barricade, and this is really nice for beaming targets from the safety of the barricade. But then you can break the crystals to provide you with a ton of benefits that we will get to momentarily. You also want to be running glacier grenades for this reason, so that you can break the crystals. For our aspects, we have Howl the Storm to turn our melee into a crystal freeze. This is great for stopping shotgunners, but it is also a third source of crystals that we can use to our advantage. So our melee, grenade, and barricade will all spawn crystals with this build. Then we have Tectonic Harvest, where shattering a stasis crystal creates a stasis shard. This shard grants melee energy when picked up by you or your allies, so this will help us to get our melee back and feed into our gameplay loop. And what is this gameplay loop? Well, basically we throw down either a barricade, glacier grenade, or howl melee to create crystals. And then we break the crystals to buff our weapons. How are we buffing our weapons, you ask? Well, I like to run this build with a Collective Action auto rifle. Collective Action is a 10% damage buff inside of PvP, and the new Lethal Abundance from Iron Banner can roll with it. I didn't even know this as I hadn't even looked at the perk pool, but my very first random roll on it gave me the God Roll with Polygonal Rifling for increased stability, Ricochet Rounds for more stability and range, Dynamic Sway Reduction for ease of use, and Collective Action, all with a range masterwork. So I'm rocking 95 range with over 50 stability. This roll feels absolutely amazing, and I run a counterbalance stock mod to take the recoil direction from 74 to 89. This thing has a damage fall off at 38.5 meters, which can easily hang with pulse rifles. I was originally running this with a horror story from Festival of the Lost, but to be honest, it didn't feel that great at all. But it was a 64 range roll, so it had damage fall off at 30 meters. And let me tell you, that extra range makes all the difference. Once I slapped on Lethal Abundance with this same build, I started shredding. My first game I had 10 final blows with the auto and a ton of assists. It hits 40 to the crit with the whole combo going, which is a 5 crit kill on tier 9 resilience and lower. Trust me, it slaps. That's a 0.67 TTK. That's like old Luna's Howl and Not Forgotten. And even though Horror Story can hit the same TTK with this combo going, it just felt way harder to land those optimal time to kills. For fragments, we have Whisper of Chains, where you take reduced damage when you're near a stasis crystal. This is only a 5% damage resistance in PvP, but it is nice to have regardless. And it gives us plus 10 to recovery, which is very welcome. Then Whisper of Conduction, so our stasis shards track back to us. Again, not totally needed because the shards will be right by you when you break your crystals, but it provides plus 10 resilience and intellect, which is awesome inside of PvP. Whisper of Shards, where shattering a stasis crystal temporarily boosts your grenade recharge rate. This just helps us get even more grenades to feed into the gameplay loop. And then lastly, we have Whisper of Rhyme, where collecting a stasis shard grants a small overshield. So even though we only get 5% damage resistance and a small overshield from the crystal and the shards, that can sometimes be enough to keep you alive in the gunfight. Switching over to the mods, it's pretty simple. If you are using Lethal Abundance, spec into Strand Targeting on the helmet. I also run Strand Siphon to make orbs on multi-kills, Strand Loader and Dexterity on the gloves, Unflinching Strand Aim on the chest, and then on the boots is where we can get even more damage. We run 1 Strand Surge for an additional 3% damage inside of PvP when we have Armor Charge, and we get Armor Charge with Elemental Charge. By picking up the shards, this gives us Armor Charge as well as all those additional benefits from collecting shards, as well as giving our weapon Collective Action. So before pretty much any gunfight, you can just pop one of your 3 sources of crystals, break a few shards, and start mowing enemies down. Again, this works on any weapon with Collective Action, but I find it to be the best on Lethal Abundance. And if RNG doesn't bless you with a good roll, then this perk can also roll on Abyss Defiant and Age-Old Bond, which are also high impact autos and also feel really good, and they're craftable. But for me, I love it on this weapon. I really love the sight and the feel of it. It's all around just a great weapon. For stats, you want 100 resilience if possible so you have lots of barricades, and I try to run 100 recovery as well whenever I'm in PvP. And then I spec into discipline. Strength is nice too for the Howl of the Storm melees, but you get melee energy back from the shard, so it's not really needed. And that is pretty much it for the build. It is so much fun, and I love running it in Iron Banner this week. I will also be using it next weekend to go for Flawless and Trials. You can go into every engagement with a 10% weapon damage bonus, and 3% more from weapon surges, and a stasis overshield, and 5% damage resistance. So when you're mid at PvP like me, it can sometimes just be enough to give you the edge. Anyways, let me know how you like this PvP build. When I first started my channel 3 years ago, I actually did a number of PvP builds. I used to really like messing around and finding fun and unique playstyles in PvP, and I still do, I just play way less now. I had a build where I could one-shot with Sturm on a Stasis Warlock. To this day, that is the most fun I've ever had in the Crucible. It was like a mini game within the game trying to hit your one-taps. And this build is a bit like that, trying to buff my weapon so I can get that juicy 0.67 TTK. And if you want to see more awesome build videos, I'm cooking up a really good one for tomorrow for PvE, so be sure to subscribe so you don't miss that. It goes crazy with solar weapons this season. And I've been testing some really fun Stasis builds also. But as usual, I like to test most of my stuff in solo GMs, so I'm waiting to make those videos. But they do go crazy in master content, and they're really fun. Anyways, if you're still watching, then thanks for watching to the end. Have fun in Iron Banner, and good luck getting your god rolls. Take care.